Okay, welcome back to Western Mike. Good morning. Welcome to YouTube tonight. Is 4 drinks too many? That is our first topic. And then our second topic, bad neighbors, provocation, and evasion. So, not much in the way of news this week. Uh, there. Yeah, it's been a bit of a slow news week. Um, uh, Putin is insisting that he has won this war. It seems as though Putin is insisting that he's won this war, and that he cannot be defeated. Also, a government shutdown could be imminent. Government shutdown could be, it could happen. There may be a bigger chance, higher odds of a government shutdown. Most of these get averted before anything even happens. Uh, uh, but this one may be the big one. Um, this early into a presidential term, that is a troubling sign in U.S. politics. U.S. politics, always calling it that now. U.S. politics, and yeah, that basically rather sums it up for the news for this week. Um, Israel is still in just not good shape. The Southerners have evacuated pretty much, creating a refugee crisis. Ukraine is in a state of fear, unquote. Uh, yeah, the world is definitely not in a very light position. Let's get into the first topic. Is 4 drinks too many? Even if you only do it once a week, even if you only do it a couple times a week, or maybe even just once a week, is 4 drinks too many? Is that too much? And my answer to that is most definitely you're probably going to hear a yes on that one. Um, so here is my cutback progress, or maybe lack thereof, if you will. It's just alcohol is a toxic drug that makes it very difficult to treat it like it's absolutely like any other normal food. A lot of foods you get full and you don't want anymore. That's not really alcohol. Alcohol doesn't act like a food. Alcohol acts like something that is like a never ending food. Can take it from me. Cutting back is difficult work and it requires a lot. Um, it almost becomes a second job. So is 4 drinks too many? Even if you have it once a week, would say yes. Yes. Was already drinking earlier this week. Was drinking a lot of light stuff, so wasn't really drinking that many strong ales, but was drinking a lot of light stuff. Um, was somewhat moderate. Some nights was better than others. But that was still happening a little bit. Some nights maybe went over a little bit. That will happen. That will happen. So then, did it again last night and went to 4 glasses of wine. Good time. Thank you very much, by the way. Doing it that fast, huh? Uh, that quick, huh? 4 drinks can be a nightmare. To me, anything toward 4 drinks, maybe even 3, but 3 might be my cutoff for alcoholic beverages because even at 4 drinks was starting to see that there was a bit of a power play with alcohol going on back and forth here. After 4 drinks, wanted to, kind of have 2 more beers, and even though they may have been lower strength beers, that still would have fucked up the count. So, no, no, yeah, you don't want to mess up your count, but that can become easy, especially after certain amounts. A good amount would be 4. That would mean that you're not, you know, heavier binge drinking as a male. If you're a female, that would be not quite sure on the female stats. But women can really only have 1 drink. Men can only really have 2 drinks. And if you go beyond that, maybe 3 or 4 at most, without binge or heavy drinking. But even if you're not, breaking news, binge or heavy drinking, you might still feel the effects of this beginning to compound. So I'm not going to have 4 drinks anymore. That's something that I used to do, and now I'm not. The more that have limited it historically, the better have done. But once have gotten toward the edge of those limits, it becomes very difficult. And you want to work smarter, not harder. You want to make this easy on yourself. You don't want situations that are you don't want situations that are going to be impossible to peel back from. um to me, 4 drinks, even just once a week, that's too hard. 4 drinks is too hard. I'm not gonna do 4 drinks in one sitting, even if it's been a while. It's not that much of a reduction. And also, no, yeah, I woke up this morning and there was still what I'm not that hungover, but was still a little bit hungover. Was still a little bit, right? So was able to get back, was able to get my food and address my Instacart driver. Was able to turn on some music and run a bath and do some nice things, and wasn't really thinking about it, but it was thinking about me. You know, didn't have anything at the house. Didn't want to. Was uh, had hit my limit for the night and was about to go do it somewhere else, but then decided, yeah, you know what? And what's scary is there was a crowd at that second venue. So if there hadn't been a crowd, it might have continued to sneak. Um, After 2 or 3 drinks, it is easier for me to say no. But after 4 or 5 drinks, this is where things get a little out of hand. So everybody has a limit. My limit is definitely not 4 drinks. It's probably more like 3 or 2 drinks, and that may even be the weekly threshold. Um, no, yeah, and also you want to. What I read was, um, you don't necessarily want to even focus so much time on the bar and trying to have the perfect amount of drinks at the bar. You don't necessarily want to be doing that. You want to be spending your time doing a lot of, cool shit. That's what you want to do. No, yeah, the reason why it's easier at a lower level is because that's less alcohol. That's less alcohol that you are consuming. Um, yeah, also, if could have done this one thing better, I would not have gotten the beer. would not have tried to get the beer. Would have just had the 4, wine, and that's it. There are folk who say even just 3 and you're good to go. Some people say even 3 could be heavy or binge drinking. So, and 4 drinks alone, that wasn't heavy or binge drinking in some cases, but that still hurt. So yeah, do 4 drinks work? Maybe for some people. Maybe for some people. Um, but me would say probably not. It's not. It's not an abusive level, but it's also not helpful for the evening either. No, yeah, 2 drinks, no problem. That is no problem. That's fun. That's really fun. Um, 3, maybe 3 is still only one above 2. But here's the thing about 4 drinks is that that's twice what a lot of people say is an acceptable amount. So 3 or 4, well, that's not binge or heavy drinking. It's still elevated risk, elevated risk. And you know what? If you're doing something that's an elevated risk, well, then it's probably going to derail your evening. It's probably going to ruin the commitment that you set out. So, no, yeah, I would say 2 or 3 drinks is probably the good cutoff, and don't try to have one more because then you're gonna keep on being all, oh, I made it through this one, maybe one more reward, maybe a reward for that one. You see this slippery slope, and that wouldn't have been one more beer. That would have been maybe 2, maybe even 3 more light beers, and then would have been all, oh, well, that's not really a whole drink anyway. Yeah, but if you start to add them up, then now you're easily into binge territory. So would advise, unless you can control it, unless you're better than me, would and I'm a pretty seasoned drinker myself. Unless you're better than me, would say that don't go for the 4th. You don't have to do 2 and then do 2 again. You can do 2 and then maybe reward yourself with one more, or have 1 and then reward yourself with one more after that, and then that's good. I think it's really a lot easier than I'm making it out to be, and I think next time I'm gonna do it, it's just gonna be all, I'm gonna reward myself by by not, centering my entire evening around this thing. It's nice, but don't want. It's also nice to get home and do stuff, right? It's nice to do things after. Um, the the universe does not revolve around alcohol. This is just a drug that, sometimes it can taste good, other times it doesn't taste good. But also, they may trip you up a bit. Mini bottles, half pints. These are things that can confuse somebody. Uh, no, yeah, trying to keep the count up, trying to maintain the count. This has been the most difficult part of it, is the whole half pint and mini bottle thing. Might have, maybe 4 half pints, but not 8, and I'm not gonna have 4 half pints and then 4 drinks. Maybe it's 4 drinks or 4 half pints, or two drinks and then 4 half pints. It's just math is not really my thing. Okay, so um, might be a little bit more of a spontaneous type person. Might be more of a structured type person, but might be more of a spontaneous person because it's hard for me to commit. It's hard for me to it's hard for me to commit. So that's an obstacle when it comes to moderate drinking and establishing a moderate drinking pattern. So last night, while may have been able to, while last night, while narrowly averted binge or heavy drinking, was still crossing into that, it's now becoming a real drug kind of territory. And you want to avoid that. So how do you not abuse yourself? Easy. Avoid the range where it starts to mess with you. I would say that that's 4 drinks. For men, 4 drinks, not 5. Even some people say 4 drinks is kind of pushing it a little bit. So maybe 1 to 3 drinks. I would say maybe once or twice a week. Most people think have 4 drinks a week, not a night. Not a night. And I think they probably spread it out between 1 or 2 days. And then even then it starts to become kind of a frequent, habitual drinking pattern. This doesn't need to be the center of your life. Just you're probably just trying to make sure you're not getting drunk in the bar every night. That's not the best. We have some people tuning in here. Progressive Discussion says greetings. Greetings to you as well, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. What's your take on Ukraine, and Putin, Putin's latest move, or purported move at least? What's your take on alcoholic beverages? What daily limit do you guys set for yourself? When does the alcohol start to become a judgment miscall? How many drinks do you have so that alcohol does not start to make you think, oh, let's have this reward. Oh, let's sneak in this one more run. It's not a whole drink. To me, my limit is, 0 to 3, maybe once or twice a week at most. Not 4, because after 4, my thinking starts to become heavily impaired. So I can't do 4. I can't do 4. I have to have 3 or less. Maybe none at all. What do you guys? What's your guys' limit? What do you have a limit? Do you commit to the limit? What's your story? So, no, yeah, we're coming on to the intermission pretty soon here, and then we will get into the second part, and you know what that's going to be. Just because I'm not responding to it in the moment necessarily doesn't mean I'm not coming up with a response. So that's going to be fun, perhaps even more fun than this subject. But yeah, alcohol is a very judging, hobby. It's not a perceiving hobby. If it was a perceiving hobby, it'd probably be a little bit more approachable in general. And I'm usually talking to my bartenders about, what should I drink? What should I not drink? Well, what's a good range? No, yeah. I mean, you can do 4, but then you have to spend all this time doing it. And oh yeah, even at that level, you're probably wanting to bar hop. You're probably wanting to sneak stuff, be kind of sneaky and keep on saying, oh, reward, oh, it's not really a beer. It's not really a whole drink. That's a cop-out. Progressive discussions. Ukraine has been kicking Russia's ass for a while now, but since Trump is supporting Vladimir Putin, then Ukraine has to probably rely on the European Union for support. Yeah, Ukraine has been defeating Russia. Ukraine even come up and take Russian territory. So Ukraine occupies Russian territory. Putin's making demands, but he lost some of his land. Think that he probably regained some of that land. But Putin's lost his own land before. Progressive discussions. As far as blood alcohol levels go, I think that the size of the person has a lot to do with that. Yeah. I'm not very big. I'm a little big, but I'm not that big. So I can't have that much. But also, even if I could, it would feel like a burden, honestly. Having drink after drink after drink feels like a burden. It feels like you're unable to get up and go do something else. It feels like you're unable to have other plans. I don't want alcohol to be my only plan. So I like an amount that makes me feel good, but that won't, keep me there. Okay? So, Note the distinction. Feel good, but not be stuck. Progressive discussion says, I was always a cheap date. I was never able to handle liquor well, even though I am a very happy drunk, but I probably can only tolerate 2 to 3 drinks. What not take a chance and drive? Just you're probably not a cheap date. You're probably a cool guy. I mean, we've talked for years, and you would be somebody who would be, a good friend, another good friend IRL. 2 to 3, 2 to 3. You know what? I guess I'm being kind of intuitive on that because 4 drinks, right? 4 drinks is where things start to get all kind of loopy, and then you're not as committed. You're not focusing. You're not focusing. So it's and take it from Progressive Discussions. He has a show later on tonight. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say. I'm going to go ahead and do that later tonight. James is saying 2 to 3 drinks. So is 4 drinks possible? Even if you're a man, even if it's once a week? My assertion to that is no. No, it's not possible. Unless you want to spend the entire evening there, and you probably do, but part of you probably wants to go do something else even at that time. Even at that time. Why? Because alcohol is not the center of Friday night. I didn't even have a drink at lunchtime. I probably could have gone to Wayfair Tavern after work, but even then, I would not have had an alcoholic beverage yet. It was only like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I didn't have any drinks when I got home last night because I wasn't under supervision. I'd rather do this while under supervision. That way, if you're on a date or something like that, somebody can step in and say, hey. I don't want the whole, no, yeah, you can do this by yourself. You can make it. No, yeah, that's another thing about drinking alcohol is probably it's better in not only moderation, but also supervision than, trying to. One video said you should drink at home, not at a bar, to cut back. Maybe, so long as people are around. If people aren't going to be around, then go to the bar. That's what I would say. Go to the bar, then cut back, and that creates kind of a buffer. Okay, so if I'm not at the bar, I'm not drinking. If I drink, I'm at the bar. Or if I'm drinking here, it's need to have friends around. Stuff like that. Day drinking, no. Even though you probably don't want, booze to center around your entire evening. That alone, that probably means that you don't want it to be at the forefront of your day. You're not putting into alcohol. You're not drinking most of the time. You're doing other stuff. You're getting stuff done. And James, my audience, you guys are probably people who like some good beers or wines, maybe some whiskey every now and then, but I would say about you that you seem very productive people and like you don't want to be distracted. And like you like commitment and focus. Progressive Discussion says, when I said cheap day, I meant that it would not cost me too much to go to any bar or nightclub. Right. When I said cheap date, I meant that it would not cost me that much to go to a bar or nightclub. Oh, right. Oh, okay. So you're not. Okay, good. So yeah, so James would have only 2 or 3 drinks. Think that that's reasonable. Problem with 4 guys is that it can then be very easy to then start to go toward 10 drinks, and 10 drinks is an absolute nightmare. No, yeah, whenever you hear just 10 drinks, that's a freaking nightmare. Okay. No, yeah, have been there. As somebody who has heavy drink before, who didn't last night, not necessarily, but that could have occurred. 10 drinks is an absolute shit show. You don't want 10 drinks. And then that's probably maybe why you don't want 5 drinks, because you don't want 10 drinks. So it's definitely better to do everything in a small amount. Everything in a small amount. Even at lunch yesterday, saved half my sandwich for another day and didn't eat all my French fries, and might eat all of them, might not finish them. You don't owe. You don't owe. If anything, and you're not owed. You're not owed, and you don't owe. That's both things. You don't owe, but also you're not owed. So, no, yeah, alcohol in a small amount, so small that you just get a nice high off of it. So was able to do that, but there were some obstacles that could have seriously wrecked those plans. So, no, yeah, would say 1 to 3. That's going to be way easier. 4 for me, 4 drinks. It's too hard. It's too hard for me having 4 drinks, even one day a week. It's too hard. It's mentally taxing. It's demanding. It's too difficult. And then it just opens the floodgates. So no, yeah, I'm not gonna have 4 drinks. Used to, but not anymore. I don't need 4 drinks. Why 4 drinks? Why flirt with the binging level? And then no, yeah. If I'm having wine, I'm having wine. If I'm having beer, I'm having beer. I'm not going to combine those because you could get confused, mess up your count. I'm not going to reward myself for sticking to my limits. I'm going to reward myself by sticking to those limits. That's how I'm going to do that. So, no, yeah, we're about to go into intermission here, and then we will be right back. So, no, yeah, thanks guys for joining the show. This is a good show. This is a good show this morning. James, thank you for being here. And thank you for anyone who you brought along. And I will join your shows. So let's go into intermission. Be right back. Okay, welcome back to part 2. The Real Deal says, someone said you quit drinking. Quit for a while, but now I'm just gonna quit. I think I'm ready to be done with heavy or binge drinking. Because, yeah, if you drink too much a little too quickly, or if you keep trying to say, oh, was able to moderate, so I'm going to reward myself with one more drink. Well, that's probably the 90% of issues right there, is drinking too much too soon and giving yourself too much leeway. Kind of, this slippery slope kind of thinking, right? Is, oh, I was able to moderate, so that means I'm going to have at least one more. Progressive discussions. How you doing, progressive discussions? How you doing, The Real Deal? It kind of sounds like the real. Kidding. I'm kidding. How's it going? Progressive Discussion says, when it comes to wine, I prefer imported red wine, are called Pinot Noir or Shiraz. Yep, Pinot Noir or Shiraz. Those are the big ones. Had a Pinot Noir, had last night, also had a Merlot, a cab, and then think another cab. But after that third cab was already starting to feel it and was having to mentally remind myself about my limits. And had there not been some obstacles, I might have breached my limits a little bit. So yeah, definitely after 3, it's a lot harder for me to commit on the weekends where I'm saying, you know what, I'm gonna do the 2 or 3. We'll do the 2 or 3. Okay, let's get into the having 4 drinks. I think that's definitely maybe even 3 drinks, but 3 or maybe 4 drinks is probably where there start to be problems. Even for moderate drinkers. Let's get into the second topic here. And yeah, that is bad neighbors. Bad neighbors. Provocation and evasion. Have dealt with this too many times. Marin County is apparently notorious for bad neighbors. Would say that sexual harassment and coercion are through the roof here in Marin County. That's a safe area. However, it does not come without its issues. One issue could be creeping, kind of being a little perverted. Yeah, just weird, just sexually abusive, predatory. Marin County would say that a lot of wealthy areas have a kind of connotation with predatory behavior. It is the wealth. It is the power that comes with that wealth. You know about everything from the Epstein files. This is crazy. Sexual harassment is astronomical right now. And really, if you just acted like a normal person, if you didn't attach the emotions of your money to situations, you'd probably get a better response, at least half the time. Progressive Discussion says good quality red wine is actually a powerful antioxidant and a very healthy drink in reality. Yeah, I can. Careful, because that's like 10% or higher. So if you have a lot of that, especially that's going to be difficult to moderate. That will absolutely be, maybe not, even beer is kind of maybe a little bit easier, but if it's wine, would say no, yeah, definitely 3 wines and then you're good. 4 wines and that's just super difficult to, very, very difficult. Marin County is an absolute wreck when it comes to neighbor conduct and sexual harassment. I've probably dealt with this issue maybe 10 times, maybe not sexual, but I've dealt with this issue maybe 5, 10 times in the last year. I keep having to say to some people, I don't know you. Again, even yesterday was having to deal with people like, hey, you can go ahead of me. No, yeah, folk yesterday, maybe once or twice, were once again, just because I was talking to other people on the ferry. I'm talking to the staff. The staff are my friends. You're not my friend. Then this person was trying to be all nice and say, oh, this old white guy was trying to be all nice and friendly and trying to let me walk ahead of him, but it's just, there is enough room It seems like every time I'm coming off because I was talking to somebody else, you seem to assume that that means that I'm also interested in you, right? And that's assumptive thinking. That's emotional thinking. That's not logical thinking. That's emotional thinking. Oh, because you're talking to somebody else, that means you'll talk to me as well. No, yeah, that is something that happens constantly. Also, was on my way home and was once again kind of dealing with some neighbors who make a habit of showing up every single time I'm coming home. You know, these neighbors from hell, just lack of awareness. Everything revolves around them. They won't take no for an answer. Um, can't, everything revolves around them. Those people are annoying. They're the worst of the worst. They're annoying. No, yeah, constantly interrupting my commute, heckling me, and then I tell you, hey, no, we're good, and then you keep stomping off the other direction like a little girl. You keep angrily stomping off in the other direction like a little girl. Just, oh, I can't believe it. And I'm not interested in any kind of petty arguments. I like people getting along, and I like people feeling like they can transport themselves without seeking validation. You know, I'm dealing with stuff like a crazy person blocking the side entrance of my building because of a protest. They can say that, right? That's public domain. And guy was being, oh, here's flyer this, flyer that. There seems to be a level of kind of bullshit. So, progressive discussion says good quality red wine is actually right. No, yeah, it is. It is. Um, but you have to be careful because 4 wines, that's like 40% alcohol. Yeah, I think 40% ABV intake is also kind of a cop out and kind of the worst. So maybe you want to keep it more toward like 30%, so 3 drinks at the most, and then you're not having that last minute resistance where you start to rationalize wanting more with, oh, I'm just having one more drink as a reward for, yeah, why would you reward yourself with one more drink because you were able to have a certain amount of drinks? Isn't that a cop out? Isn't that just ruination? Just that's contradiction. That's like with bad neighbors. That's exactly the same thing. Always contradicting themselves. Never a clear intent. Always contradiction. You can't tell. And then of course maybe you're not always scared, but of course you're not always scared, but you're at least a little bit. What what's going on here? Um, no, yeah. Why do you keep walking past me? Why do you keep trying to initiate and then run away from conversations? And I try to say something to you about the way you did that, and you're not even listening. It's just you're being a time waster. You're being just a sycophant, who's, in my mind, merely just making an attempt at a manipulation. It's very easy after a while. It's always the same people and the same problems. This has become overly saturated at this point. So people can pretty much tell at this juncture when you're BSing them. Yeah, it's not really about, assistance or love or stuff like that. No. You nosy motherfuckers are always making an attempt at a manipulation. That's that's the quote other YouTubers, that's the reality. That's the reality. Um, this situation sucks. This is not a good situation. There's some good people, but in general, this is not a very good situation. If it were a good situation, you would be going up to your neighbors. You wouldn't be looking at them like a lost puppy who's been abused and neglected. You wouldn't want to talk to them like that. You wouldn't want to have that reaction that way. So if neighbors are good neighbors, well, then you'd want to respond to them in kind. You wouldn't be picking up on some kind of hidden tone in there that's causing you to retreat a little bit, to be all, whoa, whoa. Sounds like we're kind of dealing with something that happened last week. Oh, and earlier this week also some just drunk, angry artards. I'll say artard to be nice to YouTube. Some angry artards in their big SUV. As soon as they passed me, I was walking on the bridge back home from work, and as soon as they passed me, they revved their car. I almost got a heart attack from that. That's not funny. Yeah, I'm still kind of pissed off about that. I know that some folk like to be a little bit of um, a cheap shot around here, but you don't have to be making annoying, sudden, loud outbursts with your car every time a pedestrian is around. How about just drive past? You want people to talk to you, maybe just drive past people instead of reminding people about your presence in some overly done uh, and just kind of histrionic manner. That's what Jessica Pearson said in Suits. We don't need histrionics just yet. We don't need histrionics just yet. There's a ton of histrionics going here. How come there's histrionics every time I leave my house? Somebody driving too slowly on a quiet road in the middle of 5 in the morning. I'm just trying to save money on the bus so that I'm not paying for an Uber every morning. Might do that some mornings, but not every morning. Think might do that Thursday, Friday, but not early in the week. I need to be focused on not moderating, not trying to save energy. I need to be pouncing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I need to be pouncing. And we can't have this situation with these bad neighbors. Not everybody. Trust me, it's not every neighbor. Some of them are cool. Some of them are actually pretty cool. But the ones where it's like, I'm not saying anything. You have the floor. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure I have the floor? You sure? You sure? Because every single time you've been all you have the floor, as soon as something is about to exit my mouth, you kind of make it difficult for me to stay in the conversation. I have the floor. BS. BS. It's just a good neighbor is someone who doesn't expect things from other people and doesn't be all, go around being all, I'm not going to take no for an answer, even though I'm visibly offended about everything you do. No, a good neighbor is somebody who's going to create a welcoming, perhaps even jovial atmosphere. When I leave my house, I want to be all in a good mood. When I come back, I want to be Mr. Approachable. I don't want to be somebody who's saying, fuck off. I don't want to say that. I don't want to tell people to fuck off. Even if people have, differing personalities or people handle things maybe in a different way from me, that doesn't mean that, you need to pay attention to the turbulent aspect. This is a lot like an office. In an office, you can't go around mean mugging, talking shit. You have to focus on what you're doing, and you have to be a team player. It can be a little hard. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be a team player today. Uh, but you have to be a team player, and it's probably good as a neighbor. If you want to be a good neighbor, maybe put yourself perhaps in the team player mindset before work starts. That way you're just being a chiller. You're being a chiller. You're not being an arguer. Like, hey, go ahead of me. Go ahead of me. Oh, yeah, I like that passive aggressive nosy, passive aggressive passenger unfair. I'm not going to deal with passive aggressive people on every single ferry ride. I'm not going to deal with tawdry drivers every single walk back home. You'll see me doing that all the time. So that's what I do. I work in the city so that I'm not constantly dealing with crazy people. So it's better for me. It can be a little bit of a trek, but it's better for me. And have some really good people in the city, and some really good people in the city make sure that I'm fed. And when I get back from the city, I am full. I'm so full. I could only have 2 slices of my pizza last night. I'm so full. And might still be, not that hungry this morning. So just because I'm so satiated, I'm thrilled. You know, uh, I missed an hour of work yesterday, so maybe that was part of one of the other nights of not necessarily of just maybe I think I may have gone a little too hard. I can get a little confused about some of this stuff. So yeah, I missed an hour. Wasn't anybody's fault. Had a good time with people. Had a good time with my friends. It was great. But yeah, I missed an hour of work yesterday morning. So I just have to remember, even in moderation, probably keeping alcohol at a low level and keeping the strength of the drink at a low level, because it can make things, it can make kind of waking up kind of difficult. So yeah, it's just something to be cognizant about. If you have work, you probably want a less strong drink. No, yeah, I'm not going to drink wine on a weeknight. No, no, I'll try to avoid beer sometimes, but I might have a beer instead of a wine on a weeknight. Last beer says cheers. Dang, still awake. And then he shows some beer emojis. Thank you, last beer, everybody, for tuning in. No, yeah, bad neighbors can also make drinking in moderation kind of difficult. They can make committing to work and moderation difficult. That's another thing. You know what? I'm already dealing with this situation. I'm already dealing with everything. Uh, no, yeah, we'll prefer wine on the weekend, but might just have a beer on a weeknight. If it's a weeknight, might just have a beer and not drink at all. Because we want to be able to get up in the next morning and not miss, an hour or two of work. So yeah, that's happened. Have done that before. Have skipped an hour or two of work before. That's not good. So yeah, I would say don't have 4 wines, have 3 wines, and would also say only drink wine on the weekend. Maybe try to avoid beer, except for ones that aren't as bad for you. But maybe if it's a weeknight, if you're drinking on a weeknight, I would say drink a beer. Don't drink wine on a weeknight. Less beer. I don't drink during the work week anymore. Wow. You don't. No, yeah, that's actually something I'm trying to get toward myself right now. Is drinking during the work week is horrible. It sucks. It sucks. It's not the same. It's not as enjoyable. Probably because it's not as enjoyable, right? So, last beer. Last beer? Do you think last beer, prog disc? Real deal. Well, what do you guys think about just what do you think of alcohol during the work week? You know, I know the daytime. I know the daytime, but what do you think about it during the work week in general? Is it even worth it? Is it not the same? Leave a comment in the comment section. Subscribe if you dare. No, yeah, we'll probably do a beer review at some point. It's just I'm trying not to do all this stuff so much. I'm not even going to drink today or tomorrow. No, yeah, not this weekend. This weekend, I'm just going to hunker down. Might still go out to the mall, but I'm going to have what I had yesterday, which was a sober meal. If can really only have one drink right now at lunch and then one for dinner later, well, then might just have both for dinner later and maybe just wait. But I'm probably not going to drink alcohol today or tomorrow, guys. Less beer in moderation. Yep. Um, how many? What's your limit? What's your 2, 3? Because for me, 4, especially if it's wine, that's no good. That's no good. I know that 4 wines for me is too much. When it comes to beer, I think maybe 5 beers is too much for me. So 5 beers or 4 wines are too much for me. So maybe 4 beers too. Because yeah, if too much, if the whole thing is really, I think it's confusing by design. They're trying to trip you up. So, no, yeah, if you want to be a good neighbor, just be a good person. You know, do you have to go around, show off, and make people and scare everybody? And then when you're wondering why they're running away from you? No, no. Do you have to separate your neighbors from your coworkers? No, you don't. Your neighbors are your coworkers. Your neighbors are your coworkers. You know, and it's like, is that how you treat everybody at work? No, yeah, let me tell you, I don't want to do that. I want to, I don't. Uh, last beer. If it's a Friday or Saturday, maybe 2 or 3 a night. 2 or 3 a night. 2 or 3. Okay, yeah, so everybody's agreeing with me. 4 drinks is impossible, especially if it's a wine. So, but even if it's a beer, don't have 4, have 2 or 3. Less beer, says beer. Yeah. Um, Going to join other YouTubers here on this one thing too and say that craft beer can be challenging. Maybe not during a cutback period. Because craft beer has a lot of stuff in it that could easily hook me. So maybe like a Trumer Pils or a red wine, and that's it. Maybe 2 or 3 of those. Friday, Saturday. That's what my friends say. Friday, Saturday. Yeah, plus I want to be a good neighbor. I want to be a good neighbor, so I don't want to be somebody who's constantly showing up, losing my head every single time I come home. I don't want shouting matches. I don't want power plays. I want the procedures. I don't, I'm not interested in bad neighbor, you know, dynamics. Really not. Those folk are going to try to come up to you. Those folk are going to try to attempt to come up to you and subtly commandeer your conversation with your friends, and you're gonna have to make like you're gonna have to redirect them, hopefully politely. But no, yeah, you can just kind of tell after a while when somebody's got a problem, and they're not doing much, and they're not doing much. Some of my bad neighbors are not doing anything. Um, and it can be a trigger. So, no, yeah, don't do 4. Have 2 or 3, but not 4, not 4. Especially if it's a red wine, and maybe if you're drinking on a weeknight, maybe no wine, because we'll keep it at a good limit. But no, yeah, I had a red wine on one weeknight and think that that pretty much done me in. Had I not had the red wine, everything would have been fine. Don't have red wine on a weeknight, and everything will be fine. On a weeknight, no red wine, and you will be fine. Progressive Discussion says, no, it is definitely not worth drinking alcoholic beverages during the work week. No. Except having maybe one or two when you get home just to relax and take the edge off of the workday. Yeah, that it's possible. It's possible. But also, no, it is no, yeah, not worth it. Not worth it. The problem is stress. The stress is the problem, and trying to make sure that it's going to be a good week with the neighbors and with the coworkers and everybody. That should be plenty. That should be plenty of mental taxation right there. So that should be a plenty mental taxation right there. So yeah, maybe during the work week, just no booze. Just have a NA dinner drink and then an NA nightcap, and then that makes it easy. So yeah, I get home first, and then I do chores first, and this helps me maybe not even do it. Because yeah, you keep having to say to yourself like, oh, don't have four wines, or because then you might sneak in a beer, or don't do minis, and the whole thing can get just really annoying after a while. It's not as fun after a while, sometimes even on the weekend. So um hope you guys have a good weekend. Hope everybody enjoys themselves, and yeah, talk with your neighbors, engage with your neighbors, and enjoy things in moderation. Sure, yeah, no problem. uh, but would say four wines, more than three wines, probably not. Um, and more than three beers, probably not. Because that's probably where people start to say, oh, well, probably could have one more, or probably could have like a nightcap after that. So, thanks, guys. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. See you in the next video, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining in, and talk to you guys soon. You'll see some entries in the coming days, and have a nice weekend. Thank you, Progressive Discussions, Last Beer, and The Real Deal for joining the show. Have a good one. And out. Have tonight perhaps tonight, have four half pints and four beers.